All right. Happy Monday to everybody. We have a very special broadcast today. We have a new channel partner, Audio Advice. We've got Scott Newman. We've got Nick Rich. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Great. Thanks, Gene.
Awesome. Glad to have you guys on our live stream. And I think we're on the Audio Advice channel as well. So hello, everyone from Audio Advice, YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in here. So this is pretty exciting. Historically, I've never really had a channel partner per se for our YouTube channel that is a direct retailer. And when I was looking at what you guys do, you're not just a retailer, but you're an educator as well. And much of what you put on your website aligns with the goals of what we do at Audioholics. So it just made sense to have a partnership between our two organizations.
Yeah, this is, Gene, when we first started having the conversation about it, you know, there's a lot of people out there that make YouTube videos and like, they don't really know what they're talking about, right? And a bunch of DIY folks following them and maybe off a cliff potentially. But when we started talking, and obviously we've known, you know, about you and all of your work for a long time, it was like, man, this is just going to be terrific because I think we're both very authentic. We want the real deal and we're trying to just improve audio for everybody. So.
Yeah, I agree. So, you know, I've been looking through your website and I'm blown away by the amount of effort you put into your YouTube videos. The fact that you guys actually test the products before you bring them in to sell to your customers is awesome. And the fact that you guys actually do professional installations. You know, I'd like to talk to you guys maybe in future broadcasts where you could show us some of the examples of the work that you guys have done. I think people really gravitate towards seeing that and maybe give us some experience on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. We actually produce some videos. We put them out, I don't know, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks where we do a full time lapse of a build of a theater. And it turns out those are some of our highest watched videos because people like to watch. It's almost watching like HDTV and watching from the very beginning. You know, how did we pre-wire it? What did we do? But you're exactly right. That could be a fun one to do.
So why don't you give us a little rundown of Audio Advice, who you guys are for people that are tuning into Audioholics that may not know who you guys are. I'd like a background, Scott, on your background and also how long Audio Advice has been around and where you guys are based out of and such.
Sure. So we've been around actually going on 45 years. So we're almost 45 years in business. We're based in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is, you know, where we were founded. And obviously the roots given the name of Audio Advice is all about great audio. And Audio Advice was a stereo store founded by Leon Shaw, who's our partner and founder, and just a fabulous guy, just totally authentic, trying to just bring great audio to people and teach them. But as we grew over time, we expanded into Charlotte with another store. And as we were expanding, we realized there was really an opportunity for a great web platform. And what we tried to do, this goes back maybe 6 or 7 years ago, was to try to bring what people experience in our stores as closely as we could for DIY people on the web. So if you go to one of our web pages, let's say on an Anthem product, the chances of you getting an in-depth video or a great review or more details on it. And then when you call our people, Nick Rich, who's on with us here, Nick is one of our home theater designers, that you're getting an expert in the space just talking to you about it. And by the way, we don't pay commission to people. So we're not trying to oversell people or do snake oil. We're just trying to, you know, sell people what they're looking for to improve. So anyways, we've grown quite a bit over time. We're, you know, one of the largest sellers of high performance audio online today. And certainly in home theaters, I think we're #1 in the nation in terms of supporting the DIY community. But it's a great company. We've got people that are on chat and online all day and on the phone Monday through Saturday. And then we also have large superstores as well.
I love some of the brands that you guys have on your channel as well. I mean, it looks like you've really spent your time, you know, finding the brands that work with your core philosophy, the ones that actually measure well, coincidentally, on our Audioholics website. So, I mean, it just fits like a glove. That's what I really like about this.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting watching you do the measurements and seeing the overlap that when we sit and we'll listen, you know, there's a lot of brands we don't bring in because we listen to them and go, they're not in that price performance category that we think we should carry. Or sometimes we may have a brand and they come out with a product that really is not that great a product. And so we don't carry it. or we don't make a video on it, but it overlaps incredibly well with looking at what, watching your measurements of products. And it's should be no surprise that what sounds good to us and what measures well is usually the same thing.
Yeah, there's a good correlation there. So one thing I want to bring our attention to our readers or viewers right now is we have a Heco contest going right now on our channel, and Audio Advice is the sponsor. I don't even know much about the brand Heco, but man, I was looking at your video, and it's a very intriguing company. Can you tell me how do you guys got involved with Heco? Why you brought them in as a partner, and what makes them stand out in the industry?
Yeah, so it's actually a really fascinating story. So Heco is like a very, very well-known high-end brand in Germany. So if you were in Germany today, you said, what is Heco? Everyone would know what you're talking about. And anyways, we had an opportunity. We listened to these speakers, Nick, what was it? Maybe a year ago, 9 months ago?
Yeah, right at it.
A year ago. Anyway, we listened to them during the pandemic. And when we hear something that we're like, oh my gosh, these sound really good, we, sort of next look, okay, what's the price point? Where do they fit in? And anyways, we looked at what the price point of these were, and we were like, okay, these are a great price performance offering. And anyways, we eventually went to Heco and the team at Vox and said, we'd like to bring them in and sell them in the United States. And they agreed to do it. And they've been incredible sellers. They have these tower speakers that are really well known, the 700 and 1000 series, and then great on-wall solutions for home theaters as well.
Well, guys, check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. This contest is run until the end of March, and we already have like 1,200 entries, so it's kicking up pretty good. I just want to add a disclaimer: nobody is going to text message you that you won the prize. We had some guy that was trying to hack our channel to get people to get their shipping info so he could scam them. You're going to get a direct email from us through an Audioholics email address to confirm if you're the winner at the end of the month. So just stay tuned for that. Don't respond to anybody in this channel. And guys, I really appreciate you bringing this brand to Audioholics and to sponsor this contest with us. And I'm hoping that we could do a contest maybe once a month with you guys. I think it would really be just a great way to bring brand awareness and also just, increase user engagement on both of our channels. I think it's an awesome idea.
Yeah, we're really excited for you to try out Heco, Gene. It's been one that we've been, like Scott said, super impressed with. And, we at Audio Advice have read your reviews for a long time. So I'm excited to see what measurements you find and what you think about them.
Yeah, we have James Larson. I think you guys are sending a pair of the towers to, so he should be measuring those and reviewing them within the next month or two. So that I'm really looking forward to. I also want to bring up this comment here from one of our viewers talking about you, Nick, your excellent design services. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, Justin has got an awesome theater. It should be getting done soon. I'm looking forward to it.
So can you give us, Nick, can you give us a little bit of your background, like what you're doing at Audio Advice, what your experience is?
Yeah, so I've really been here right towards the start of the online side. So once it all got booted up and we started out really concentrating on 2-channel, we moved towards home theater because we've done awesome home theater in our retail locations for so long. We wanted to kind of create something that was a similar experience for people all over the country. And so Scott's going to dive into our home theater tool and everything. But, once we did that, we wanted to kind of create a custom tailored one-on-one designer experience with someone who's out of state doing it themselves. And so that's where I kind of step in. So if they have a challenging room, they want to talk to somebody, and that's where I kind of go. And so we can probably go through that whole process here shortly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing that really I was impressed with you guys. You're not just an online reseller. You actually have a tool to help people design, the right equipment for the room, the placement of everything. And it's just, this is the kind of stuff we need now, especially post-COVID, when there's not a lot of people going out to do demos. There's not a lot of places to do demos. And it's really hard to know what to buy, where to put it, how to set everything up. And that's the level of service that you guys provide. And I do consulting on the side, and I try to help people. But ultimately, I want to be able to take those consultations and then bring them to you so that you guys can design a system and put the speakers where they need to be and help them with their room design, just to give them that extra level of support that I can't do, or that we always can't do, because we can only do so many videos. But to bring you guys onto that layer and to bring this to the next level for our readers, just awesome. So Scott, I'd like to share the screen and have you kind of show us about your home theater design tool And I think people should really pay close attention to this because I think it's a very invaluable asset that you guys have.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So at audioadvice.com, we built this patent pending tool here. And the concept, Gene, was let's make it really easy for people to do a basic layout of their room and sort of, hey, I'm thinking about doing a home theater. I really don't even know if my room fits. What would it look like? What would I do? And let's do it in a live 3-dimensional way. That what used to take us, we'd go back and forth as designers and someone's trying to figure out, do I need to write a check yet? Do I need to do this and that? We literally put this out there for free. And actually it was never intended to be for free in the beginning. We were not sort of charged for it because, as you might imagine, it cost a lot of money to build this 3-dimensional tool. And the pandemic happened and we just felt it would be crazy to be charging. And so we put it out there for free. But let me just show you, I'll just walk you through in 3 or 4 minutes what a customer experience is when they go to audioadvice.com and interact with the tool. And then once they've done that for free, it'll send them measurements and all sorts of calculations. And then if they want to go to the next step, they'll talk to Nick or someone on our team. But this is basically how it works. You'll see here that you first put in your room dimensions. Notice we literally just added last week the ability to do meters and centimeters versus feet because so many people around the world were emailing us and saying, can you make it work in metrics? So we went ahead and added that for folks. But you'll see, for instance, if I had a room and I knew maybe it's 20 feet deep, I can literally change it real time to 20 feet deep and take it wider a little bit and set my ceiling height. And it literally is in real time starting to build the room. So I click next, it takes me down to seating. Maybe I want, 3 seats per row, but maybe I want 2 rows of seats. So I click on the rows of seats. You'll see in real time, it's changed. And watch this, as I move it, it's doing all the angle calculations of the speakers and adjusting them.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'll show you something interesting. If I move them out of Atmos spec, if I move them too far, you'll suddenly see something turn orange. And when it turns orange, it means I'm actually out of spec. And then I could pull the chairs a little bit forward and I'm now in spec and it's making real-time adjustments as I do it. You'll see that you can set your riser height and set your depth of your risers as well. And then you can tell it which is your primary row. So front or back. And if I had 3 rows, I could choose any of the 3. You can see how you can set the consumer can set their distance this way by changing it here, or they can live just pull the chairs. And then you can set aisles on either side and how wide you want the aisle. If you hit next, it takes you into the video setup. And you'll see you can choose a flat panel or projector. Let's do a projector here. I love 2.4 screens, so I'm going to take this to a wide screen. And you'll see here that it actually shows you immersion level. And if we have time, we'll get a little bit more into the immersion level. But the immersion level helps you understand how big that screen is compared to THX and other standards and what you might experience yourself. Then let's click next. This is where it gets really cool. On the audio setup, we originally just did all these as box speakers. And then so many people came back and we didn't realize in the DIY space how many people actually we're doing acoustically transparent screens and doing in wall. So you can actually change this to say, put them in wall. And if you do, it will ask you, do you want it to be acoustically transparent? And if so, it'll drop them behind the screen. Let's say no, in this case, it asks you, do you want main surrounds? And you could, let's make these in wall as well. Rear surrounds, we'll make those in wall. Number of subwoofers. And Gene, you'll see here, we had a big debate whether to take this up to 4 subwoofers. And we've left it at 1 to 2 right now, simply because the tool is not telling you where to put them, right? We need to go do separate calculations on where to put them. So we didn't want to convolute the visuals of the tool, but
Sure.
maybe we'll get into later some discussion about how you think about subwoofers and 2, 3, 4 subs. And then you can see, you can go up to 6 Atmos channels. See most is 4, but literally in that, I don't know how long that was, maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It literally real time built this room out and put everything within specification, which is a pretty cool way to do it. And then if you click save and view specs, it will actually allow you to go to a page that will show you the distances and the heights of the screen, exactly how far back every speaker would go in here, how high the riser is, and every calculation in the system. And then if you say, I'm really serious, I want to take it to another level, and here's a good example. My room's not rectangular. What if I have a vaulted ceiling or I'm missing a side? And that's where Nick comes in.
The other thing I want to ask you too most people, I like what it's doing with the riser and stuff, but to be honest with you, most people, when they're setting up a room, they're not going to leave that space behind the second row because it's just useless space. And most rooms are too small to do that anyway. So when you put that riser all the way to the back wall, which is what most people do on their second row, is there a way to compensate for where you're putting the chairs? Maybe you can move those chairs more forward and still be within spec. And if not, would this tool automatically select the surround back channels to maybe put in ceiling versions with angled speakers that can fire at the listener? That way they're not too close to those back channels and they could still support the back channels? Or is that where Nick comes in and does the customization?
That's exactly where Nick comes in. So if I added a third row here, I'd show you how it would keep it all in spec. And you'll see these things don't drop out of, they don't turn orange till there. And that's to show exactly what you said, which is most people end up with a row that doesn't sound very good on the back, right? Because they're too close to the back. And it's telling you that. And what happens is it basically says, reach out to our system designers, and Nick will now get on the phone with someone and say, look, your back row is too far back, but maybe you want this to be your primary seat, your front row, and just recognize you're sacrificing some here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And, Gene, if you got it, I could probably show you kind of what that process looks like as well.
Sure. Go for it.
Do you want to switch over to your screen share?
Yeah.
So two questions that popped up I wanted you guys to address. Can you use this tool for 2-channel? And if somebody has an audio up mixing, they prefer audio up mixing, can you repurpose
to design where my front, left, and right speaker is going to go in a stereo setup? On the Aura, so we actually, when we designed this, imagine we had to think about THX specs, even like viewing angles and SMPTE and Aura and Dolby and DTS. And so we've actually put all of those concepts into the design of the tool and then added our experience that hopefully we'll get into in some deeper questions about exactly where do you put speaker? Because these are, if you think about Dolby, and this is true of all these, they're pretty big ranges, right? Mm-hmm. And so we looked across all the ranges and tried to find the position that will get you in the best position for each of them before you have to then move to Nick or one of our designers.
I'm going to drop off for a second because people are saying my audio is not good. So keep talking and I'm just going to come back into StreamYard.
All right, Nick, we'll let you just take over. You're on the screen now.
Yeah.
And show what, Nick, maybe what you can do is walk people through, okay, they've done the tool, but now they're like, look, my room's a little bit different and the tool's got me 95% of the way there. Mm-hmm. Can you work with me? And maybe walk it from your experience.
Well, yeah, that's where we do free consultations. So, well, first of all, Gene's back. Chat, is the audio better?
I hope my audio is okay now, guys.
Your audio is sounding good to us, Gene.
Okay. So, kind of just to start it all off, we do a free 30-minute consultation where I like to answer as many questions as I can. So if somebody comes in, we go over their theater, we go over the bones of it. If it's a basic question, they use the tool. Hey, I actually want this riser, back here. We can make any small adjustments. I'm happy to make any type of suggestions that we can from there. So once we go through all of that, if a customer has other questions or they want their room completely designed, where, if it's an odd shape or, they want certain features that you can't really get with the tool, then that's where we step in. We do a deposit basis. The deposit goes 100% towards your purchase. So once your purchases hits right around 5,000, we put 100% of that deposit towards that. And we, give you a full design, export everything. So for example, this was actually one of the videos that's on our YouTube channel. So this is a 944 that we did with in-wall subwoofers. And so we went through and designed the room. So basically what the room layout is. So we have our basic front row here, our riser, and our back row entrance. This actually changed a little bit. It has some stairs here. But what we do, once we lay it out, we send over all the dimensions and we do a room rendering. So like I said, this room has changed a bit since we originally put this all together and filmed it, but these are some of the acoustic panels, just general placement for reflection points. We did a full analysis of this. We have the bar in the back area, projector placement, full speaker placement. Once that's all finished, we go through and, like I said, full room's done here, just the shape of that. And then we give the location of every single speaker where you want to pre-wire it to. And so if you're doing it yourself, it's very, very simple to just go through and follow this. Or if you have a contractor, we'll give you the heights of each speaker pretty much the whole way through. And then, like I said, the full rendering of the space. So it's great. And not only do we do this and just do the the export for it, we kind of act as a concierge through the entire process. So if you have questions of saying, hey Nick, what type of circuits do I need in this space? Where do I need to run outlets for just the equipment itself? What paint color should I do? Pretty much anything along those lines we can help with. So that's one really nice piece.
Awesome. All right, let me get us back here so we can see ourselves. So how long of a process is this when someone is looking at doing a complete home theater with you guys? They start maybe with the tool and then they email you and then you get into the customization, you take the deposit. I mean, how long of a process is this?
So it can depend. It's the general consultation we can usually schedule within the next week. We set aside an hour. We build out the entire room together. From there, it takes about usually a week to finish up the entire thing. But one big piece that we try to focus on is education. So whenever we do all of that, in the middle of it, we're building an equipment list of everything you're going to need for the room. So I go through with the customer, figure out what their budget is, how much they want to do, and really what they're trying to achieve inside of that budget. Educate on every product inside of that so they know what they're putting in their theater. Then after that's all done, they can either, call, like I said, throughout the entire process and ask us questions. All in all, it takes usually about a week to get the entire equipment list and room design done.
Mm-hmm. And Nick, what's your sort of the fastest person you're interacting with? I'm assuming is probably a week going back and forth with you, and some people probably take them 2 months.
Yeah, I've had people that have worked on projects that have, because right now construction, as everybody knows, if you've built anything, these things have delays. So I've had people that have taken 6 months to a year, and that's totally fine with us. Like I said, if you put down a deposit, it goes towards your purchase, and that's evergreen. So if they do it and then a year later their construction finishes and they say, hey Nick, can I order products? That's totally fine.
So explain to me the process now. If someone does the whole home theater design tool with you, they get all the speakers and the equipment placed correctly based on what you're giving advice for. What happens when they want the system calibrated?
Yep. And that's where we step in again. So once all of that's done, we hop on some type of video sharing platform or we could do remote access. And since a lot of these products, for example, I know Gene, you're testing out Anthem right now. There's IP control in a lot of these. So I can log in and actually adjust the settings from our side and then run through Anthem room correction with the customer. I just say, hey, I need you to move your microphone over here. And so we run through, do the full setup, full calibration on that. And then I like to teach them how to use the equipment. So, they go through, try to use it. If they run into any hiccups, we'll do a follow-up and I'll show them how to use every piece, make sure it's all connected correctly. So, we really want to be a start to finish solution. So, from the design, equipment list, calibration, all of that, and then just the kind of education afterwards. So, we also have lifetime assistance on all of it. So if they run, down the road and have an issue, they can always call us back up and we'll help at any point.
What's interesting, right. I think you could bucket people into a couple different buckets. Bucket one is the people that are, let's call it hardcore DIY person. They really want to build themselves, but they're scared to get it wrong. And so they want their hand held through it, which is like a perfect fit for what Nick is doing. And they actually want to learn, how do I get into the sort of pro side of Arc Genesis? And how do I make little adjustments? I want to come back later. And Gene, this is the person who's also watching videos that you put out, right?
Yeah.
They're into this stuff. They're constantly learning every month. They're tweaking the system. There's another group of people that I'd call sort of more luxury customers. They're like, I want a great theater. I don't live anywhere near a local great installer that makes sense, but I want it done. And in certain cases, when it's big enough, we will literally fly out and do it and do everything from beginning to end. Obviously, the bigger base is the first base. And it tends to be a really fun base because there are people that are just constantly learning and they're watching things that we put out. They're watching things you put out. And but it's surprising what you can do now on video share to actually teach people how to use this stuff and work with it.
So this is an interesting question that somebody's posing here. I was wondering if you guys can answer. At what price point should we not go to Best Buy and consult with you? So I guess what job is too small, or where's the threshold of when you guys should get involved?
So the interesting thing about this question, given our history as a company of being a high performance player, when you were high performance audio, a boutique player, 20 years ago, essentially you went there to get high performance product that you couldn't get elsewhere. And then 15 years ago, you'd go to a place like that and you knew you'd pay more money, but you'd get better service. Mm-hmm. That's no longer true today. So every single thing you see on our website is price matched every day to Amazon and Best Buy. So whether you're buying a television, a pair of clip speakers, an Anthem, it doesn't matter. It's the exact same price to the penny every single day with Best Buy. So I'll answer the question in a slightly different way that'll sound strange to you, which is if you're wanting to get great advice and you're buying a pair of speakers, and you research online, you watch what Gene's putting out, you watch the things we're doing, I don't think there's a better place to go than Audio Advice to talk to our people on the phone. You're going to get free advice. It's probably going to be way better than what you're going to get at Best Buy. And you can order speakers. They'll show up in 2 days and there's no shipping costs and you will not pay. It'll be the exact same price. Mm-hmm. If you're doing a high performance theater, and let's say it's a $100,000 theater, and you've got a local dealer that you walk into and you listen to their rooms and they talk to you a lot, I would not call us up and buy it from us. I would buy it from that local dealer. You should support the local dealer who's educating you and working with you. And maybe that's a Best Buy or not. I think most of the time you're going to get a lot better insight into people who've spent their lives doing it and other places. Maybe there's some specific, really smart people at certain Best Buys that does make sense, but you get the point. So I would say, we're selling $300 pair of bookshelf speakers. We think we're providing that kind of experience. And I think it doesn't matter what the price is.
Right. That's a good answer. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're going to a place and you're getting support from them, support that place. I'm not a fan of when people go to a local stereo shop just so they can listen to a speaker and then go buy it on Amazon for cheaper. It does such a disservice, especially because we're in such a small industry to begin with. So it's a great response there that you offered.
And I'll add one more thing to it because it's a hot topic for me. If you've got a decision to buy from, let's say it's not Audio Advice, would you go buy from Crutchfield, someone else, or you go buy on Amazon, go buy from Crutchfield, go support people who have people on the phone and chat and are trying to help you and are experts in the world and not just from a big monopoly because it's easy to do. Now, obviously, I think we provide the best experience in the audio space and we'd love for you to come to us. But generically, if you've just got a decision, you're trying to do the right thing in the world, I wouldn't be running to Amazon to do stuff because they're not providing the same kind of support and warranty and all the things you might want that you can get from really good players out there.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you're buying an APR or anything like that, there's a lot of setup involved with it. And whenever you buy from Amazon, there's nobody to call. And I have people that call us asking us, to help set it up. I'll give general advice, but to go through a full setup process is not, we can't do that. So it's great. And like Scott said, work with somebody that can give you that support.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of interesting questions popping up here, and this potentially opens the door for future broadcasts with you guys. Quickly, I want to kind of pick your brain on this topic, and we could potentially do a live stream on this at a later event. Acoustically transparent screens, my experience has been they are not all equal, and they can cause a lot of acoustical problems if they're not properly installed. Do you guys have a screen preference, screen material? Do you frame the screen out a certain distance from the speakers? What are your experiences with that? Have you done a lot of testing?
So Nick, you want to talk generically about your discussions with people about acoustic? I'll give the big picture and then you can give sort of, working with people. We're looking at the question here on the pros and cons of it. Most people are trying to figure out why would I put them behind the screen? And Gene, you're exactly right. We 100% agree. You're going to have some changes in the acoustical properties. But if you want to get that sense in a big theater of, someone's car coming straight at you from the center of the screen, then you cannot be acoustically transparent, either with a television or putting speakers to the sides or under. But you have some advantage acoustically. Now we're getting better and better calibration systems. And if Gene, you're looking at, you've been looking at some Anthem recently. In Arc Genesis, it defaults to 5K in terms of where it adjusts frequency wise.
Right.
But you can take it to 20K. And when we do a acoustically transparent screen, we do bring it up, because it'd be interesting. What you'll see is it begins to correct for what it hears coming through that screen, which is pretty cool. Now, you wouldn't necessarily do that with all your other speakers, but you would do it with that, your ones that are behind the screen. So you can get a great experience, but you do have some adjustments there. And usually when you do an acoustically transparent screen, your left and right speakers are more narrow within spec than they would be if they were outside, because you're constrained by bringing them inside the material and inside the frame. That's okay, but you just have to know that's a trade-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Scott. Yeah, there are a lot of different layers to it. And, you know, I like to keep a balance of form and functionality inside of it. So if some people say, you know, hey, I just absolutely want these behind a screen, and if it messes with it a little bit, you know, I give them choices. But really the pros and cons, whenever you're placing it, let's say we do an in-wall speaker, for example, one of the challenges is that people want their screen to be flush up against those speakers. And that's not always the best. You know, we want to try to create some space there so that waveform has, you know, time to fully form. And so I typically recommend anywhere from 4 inches to 12 inches. And again, that can depend on the speaker. The different speakers can have different pressure levels coming out, which work better behind a screen. It also depends on these screens themselves, whether it's a woven screen or a microperf. If it is a microperf screen, what brand is it, and how consistent are those perforations? So there's a lot of pieces. Overall, I think if it's done properly, an acoustically transparent screen is not hindering your performance at all. You know, at least not in a noticeable sense. You may have a slight measurement difference, but if it's done properly, no, not at all.
Well, the other advantage of building the screen off the wall like that, 4 inches, like you said, is now you could put acoustic treatments behind that screen between the speakers. And you could get rid of a lot of the nasty reflections you're getting off of that wall. And it acts as a mid bass trap as well. So, I mean, there's just a lot of advantages if you could frame out that wall before you put the screen on and then put the materials behind it. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Yep.
So another question here is someone's asking about if they do 4 subs, is it okay to build a wall to hide the subs? I guess a false wall, front or back. I mean, you guys can give me your take, but my thoughts on that is anytime you build false walls in a room that's already not that large, you make that room really small, really fast. Most home theater rooms are 20 by 25, 15 by 20. So if you start putting false walls in there, you start becoming like a small room where you only have 3 or 4 seats, and it just doesn't, you don't feel the presence of it when the room is too small. What do you guys think about that?
I would agree. And I think particularly when you start to get multiple subs in a room, and Gene, you've been like really preaching this for quite a while, and we 100% agree. You can get even bass distribution across most seats in most locations if you do it. I would not advise taking a small room and making it smaller. In a big room, these are not, issues. In fact, there's many times, if you look at our home theater tool, you have a big room, and we actually will build out the room to change the dimensions of the room to get closer to a golden ratio and further away from a cube. So we can set the room up acoustically to start with better. But in a small room, I wouldn't advise it. The other
thing you could do, I've seen this in one of your videos. I think you did a JBL synthesis install, and you had JL Audio in ceiling subwoofers with it. You could put subwoofers in the ceiling. Most people don't realize that the ceiling is just like your floor. So if you pre-construction, you could put some really high output subs in the corners of the ceiling, and then you won't have the big box in the room. And when you put 1 sub in each corner and you got 4 of them, below 30 hertz, those 4 subwoofers act as one giant super sub. So you get that coupling at the very low frequencies. You don't need as big of a subwoofer. A lot of people tend to put these giant subs in their rooms. You can get by with smaller subs if you use 4 of them and you corner load them.
Totally agree.
Yeah, subwoofer placement is a thing that a lot of people make mistakes on. They try to put it where it aesthetically fits, because an in-room sub is not always beautiful to some people. But that's where you really want to take into consideration where they're going to perform the best. And that's why I tell my customers, is play around with it if they can. If they have the freedom, if the room's not sheetrocked yet, play around with it. I know it's going to change some, but corner loading's going to help that a lot.
Yeah, we see a lot of people on the the various forums, they tend to put these giant subs to the left and right of their center channel. And I'm like, you just defeated the purpose of multi-sub. You just basically put one giant sub in the middle of your room, the middle of the wall. Please work on your subwoofer placements. Use smaller subs if you have to, and strategically locate them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we often get that question of, should I do one really big sub or should I do two smaller subs? And it sounds like, Gene, you're coming from the same world we are, which is we'd much rather you do two smaller subs and get them in the right positions.
Absolutely, man. There are a lot of questions in here. This is a good stream. We got over 300 people here. You could tell there's a lot of synergy between us. That's awesome. What else did you guys want to talk about? I guess one I want to ask you guys, maybe Nick, what's the common home theater setup that you do? What's the common speaker layout? Is it a 7.2.4? Is it a 5.2.4? What's the most, the most speaker configurations that you support?
I probably do a 724 the most. That's the one I work with a lot, and that's really for dedicated theaters. I do a lot of work in dedicated theaters. When it comes down to living rooms and multi-purpose spaces, I do a lot of probably 524s are the most popular I do there. But overall, 724 is great for most Atmos setups, and so that's what people like. Now that a lot of blogs are coming out about the advantages of like 946s or things like that, I'll actually set it up where people can pre-wire for those, even if they aren't ready to go into separates yet, or their budget doesn't call for it. We'll set it up where it's future proofed. And so I say, hey, run speaker cables here. This is the next upgrade that you can do in 5-6 years.
Right. It's difficult most of the time to implement wide channels just because most people's rooms aren't wide enough to put floor standing speakers on the floor. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of looking or toying with the idea of doing like an on-wall speaker with an angled baffle, or potentially in the ceiling wider apart than your main speakers with an angled baffle that fires at the listening area. Have you guys ever done installs like that where you're trying to support wide channels?
Well, one of the challenges, there's not a lot of great in-wall speakers that are angled. Right.
Yes.
You got a lot of great options for in ceiling. And so within ceiling, you're doing it all the time at Atmos, right? You're angling that towards the main listening position. But what you find on these wides is there's basically not a lot of good options to put there in terms of angling them.
Right.
Yeah, we've used a lot of the SCL7s from JBL Synthesis. Those are angled, I think, at a 15-degree pitch, and they've worked very well in a lot of front wide scenarios.
So we also will use those JBL SCL7s in rears where we're trying to bring in that same angle. And Nick, you're exactly right. Like that one product, the JBL Synthesis SCL7, has been a game changer, I'd say, in the past year in terms of, in fact, it's almost impossible to keep them in stock anywhere in the country because it's got great dynamics and it's got that angle advantage, and you can pair it up with SCL6s, which play straight on axis.
Yeah. So here's an interesting question maybe you guys want to address is someone's asking, do you place the Atmos speakers firing down or do you actually angle them towards the listening area?
We do. In most cases, you're angling them to the listening area versus playing down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you actually, I'll jump
over. What in-ceiling speakers do you sell that actually angles the woofer and the tweeter, not just the tweeter? Because just angling the tweeter is a waste. You'd have to do the woofer and the tweeter. So what speakers do you have that do an angled baffle for both?
There are a few brands that do it. I know that, let's see, Bowers & Wilkins has some in-ceiling models. Yep. Martin Logan has in-ceiling models, even at their lower price point, like I think it's the IC6 HTs.
Paradigm Elites.
The Paradigm Elites do it. Even I think Synthesis, I think
they use a pretty good wave guide to create a pretty good dispersion coming off angle.
Yeah, so there are a lot out there, and with the dispersion pattern from the woofer, you usually find it's probably going to cover most of the area, but it just depends again on what area that's covering.
Gotcha. You guys are people are asking about Focal. You sell Focal as well, right?
We do. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Another great brand.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're very we're very brand agnostic between all of the sales guys. I mean, I've got Rebels behind me, and I
same
sell
here.
Rebels.
you
quite a
and
bit.
Gene are like set up.
I know we both got. What finish do you have on yours, Gene?
They're like a cherry, I think.
Oh, you got a cherry.
Yeah,
I've got the black F226s, but even though I have these speakers, it's not the one that it's not necessarily the one that I'm saying is right for everybody. I'm not building a theater with just 100% beryllium. It depends on the use case, depends on the budget, and it depends on what the customer likes. If they have a sound signature that they prefer according to a brand, then 100% I'm going to go towards that. That's what they say they like.
Right. Now, do you guys, when you do a lot of room setups, do you have a preference on the room correction system that you do? Do you prefer Anthem Arc over Odyssey or any of the other brands? What's your experience when you do these remote calibrations?
Big picture, I think most people would agree that Dirac in the market we largely serve, Dirac and Anthem room correction tend to be the most capable ones out there. Odyssey historically was a more, set it up, click one button, go kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We like to go make more in-depth adjustments than it will automatically make by itself, which lends itself to Arc and Dirac.
Well, Odyssey has Odyssey X now. Have you?
Yep.
So that could change things.
That's correct.
Does Odyssey X, do you still have to connect directly to the receiver for most of those?
Unfortunately, out of the box, you do. But actually, we're having them on in a live stream. We're supposed to have them this week to discuss. I don't know if I could talk about this now, but they have some options coming. So
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah,
because historically
stay tuned
that
on
has
our
been a
channel.
game changer. Is that a lot of people actually want to keep their equipment in a separate room, and they can't run their microphone from their receiver all the way to their main listening area. Because in some cases it can be on the other side of the house if they're using radio frequency based and Cat 5 and all that, or Cat 6. So it's that's one reason that we have liked Arc and Dirac, is they're super customizable, and you can just plug it into your laptop and move it around. It's a bit easier there.
Yeah, I love the Arc Genesis for that very reason. Like even their distribution amps, their MDA 16. The fact that you can just go around to each set of speakers and IP control and do your room correction right there is just an invaluable tool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, do you want to bring up any other topics about audio advice? I guess one question I have, I didn't see it pop up here. What's your return policy? If someone buys a pair of speakers and is not happy with them in their house, is there a restock fee? Do you guys work with them on potentially doing an upgrade? And is there a trade-in? Do you guys have a trade-in policy if they want to upgrade in a year to say the next model? What are your thoughts on that?
Multiple questions in there. So first is we sort of have a satisfaction guarantee generically, and you'll see that if you go look at our online reviews, you'll just see a lot of 5 stars, and because we just try to take care of customers. And particularly during the pandemic, things would go wrong where you'd have FedEx not deliver fast enough or something, and we try to generically take care of customers. If you go look on the site, you'll see that we've got a 30-day return policy, and so as long as someone doesn't hurt the value of the product, then we'll take it back in the 30 days and go on. And obviously there's some people that, they'll order 4 pairs of headphones, try them all and take them all out and damage them. That's different than there's a restock fee and those kinds of things. But that very seldom happens with us. It's interesting. We sell both at audiodevice.com, but we're also a seller on Amazon. And Amazon has massive returns because people just buy stuff and then just turn it back and it's destroyed or broken, or they put the wrong thing in or something. But we really don't have an issue in the stores because we try to communicate well. And we often do have people that will upgrade. So, they'll buy something and then upgrade to the next. And we work with people on that as well.
And I'd like to add to that, on the theater side that I work on, just doing the designs, I barely ever get products back. Unless something is damaged, in which, of course, if they take it out of the box, their install is, 2 months down the road, they open the box and, something's busted. Of course, we're going to make sure that they're happy and they're taken care of. And so we'll swap that out. So that, that's one thing. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you're confident and happy with the product that you order whenever you order it. So, that's the tougher part, especially whenever you're putting a speaker in the wall, you can't really return it. But, we just want to make sure that you're really educated on the products that you're getting.
Gene, it gets a little bit to your original question. We first started the live stream. You're like, who is, like tell people who is Audioholics. And what we've tried to do, the exact vision we mapped out when we went online years ago was we said, we have these people that come into our stores and we think we have beautiful stores that show lots of speakers and all the things we've talked about. People will fly down to North Carolina and come see the stores. But we try to deliver an experience where people would go, my gosh, I just like working with these people. I like coming in and interacting with them and I like learning. And we've tried to replicate that online. And so generically, we want people to get to know Nick. As we saw, I think it was, his name was Justin at the beginning, someone who's worked with Nick who just jumped on and said, oh yeah, Nick did a great job with me. That's exactly what we're looking for. Personal relationships, long-term. So we view people as not a transaction, but a long-term relationship.
Yep. And listening is the key with all of that, because even I 100% say support your local business. But if your local business isn't listening to you, if you say I've got a $15,000 budget and they're handing you $30,000 budgets each time, that's not listening. And so that's where we try to go through and say, hey, this is the room that you need at the price you need, and you get all the support that you need.
Gotcha. Got a couple of super chats here I want to address, and then one or two more questions. I think we'll wrap it up. This one here from Gimpy Gaming. Gene, I'm a disabled streamer who was house burned on stream. Oh, that killed my theater too. How do I hire you for a consultation? So I'll put a link in the description below about doing consulting. And we also have, if you go to audioholics.com, there's a pop-up that comes on once a day for New Year's, is where you can purchase a consult there, on our Facebook as well. So I hope that helps. Sorry to hear about your bad luck there. And Bubblehead, appreciate the super chat. I have a pair of PB3000s on my front wall, either side of the center channel, one big subwoofer mistake. Would adding a PC4000 that I can move around the room help even things out? So yeah, I mean, if you could add an extra sub in the back of the room, you could potentially make things a lot better. I would first measure each of your seats. That's another mistake I see online a lot, is people measure one listening position, or they call it the main listening position. And to really understand how the bass is integrating into your room, you need to look at a collection of measurements. And I tend to measure, I have at least 4 seats that I want to have perfect. And then I have maybe the mother-in-law seats, the ones that aren't so good, the back of the room kind of thing. So you really want to tune in as multiple seats. If you want to get multiple seats to play well, then you need to have more than one subwoofer. And I would maybe try to move those 2 subwoofers you have now, better position them if you're getting too much seat-to-seat variance before you go and spend more money on another sub. But if you can't move those subs and you want to throw an extra sub towards the back of the room, definitely try to do that. We have some videos on how to integrate your multiple subs, and I'm sure I'm going to do more in the future. In fact, I know Matthew Pose is working on some of that now, because he just built a new house and he's going to be doing some educational videos on that. So I hope that helps answer your question there. And I'm sure you guys agree, 2 or 3 or 4 subs is better than 1.
Yep, and your suggestion, play with those 2, and you can look at some work Gene's done. We have a video on ours, but I would first look at those 2, and you may be able to avoid getting the 3rd. And then if you really want to nail it, you'll get your 3rd, and it will be way better.
Yeah. Somebody was asking Nick, I can't find the chat now because there's a lot of questions here. How does someone get a hold of you, Nick?
We have a chat function on the website, and if it's a theater related question that needs a consultation, then they can just go on there and say, hey, I'd like to set up a theater consultation. Somebody will send them a link to my calendar, and we'll do, like I said, a free 30-minute consultation on there. It would be either myself or one of our other designers.
And what happens is a Calendly link. So you'll see all the slots that Nick is open, and you can just click and book him.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on our live stream. I'd like to make this a regular cadence, maybe once a month, have you guys on, and we could choose the video topics. If you guys want to give us some comments down below on what you want to see us cover, between myself and the guys at Audiovice with their collection of useful videos and setup tips, I'm sure we could come up with some unique content here that can help you guys better integrate your sound systems and get better performance out of what you have, or answer some of your questions on what you want to upgrade. I'll be putting affiliate links down below to Audio Advice. We appreciate your support there as well. Do you guys want to wrap up with any other comments before we close this off?
No, I think that's great. It's great doing this first stream with you, Gene. And We appreciate everyone's support of you and us and everyone else trying to bring some great ideas and tips to everyone.
So I'm putting you on the spot now. You got to come back every month.
That's right.
We'll do our best, Gene. And yeah, again, this was absolutely awesome. We're super excited to be partnering with Audioholics. So looking forward to a bright future.
Yeah, and honestly, there's so much cool content to talk about. Like I didn't know where questions were going to go here, but whether it's, how much power should I pull to my theater rack, right? There's lots of discussions about how many amps am I going to pull there. There's just a lot of stuff we can cover that I think will be interesting to folks.
Yep. People really liking your videos, by the way. I have to give you guys kudos. You have excellent production quality on your videos, and they are very fun to watch. That Heco video, all of a sudden I became a fan just watching that, like just seeing all the stuff behind those speakers at such a low price point. I can't wait for us to do a formal review on those and learn more about those. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing you with all your measurements and everything. I will say, making the videos for us, it's how much can you condense in information in a short period of time? Because we can make the videos 3 times as long and ramble on. And so it is a lot of work to say, we're respecting people's time. Let's try to make it as succinct as we can. And that's what we try to do in all of our communications. And we don't always get it right, but we try.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, guys, don't forget about the contest that we got going on right now for the Heco 5.1 channel speaker giveaway. The value is like $24.95 for that whole system. It's running till the end of March. So please make sure you subscribe to our contest, fill out your information, and we'll be announcing the winner first week of April, and you guys will know about that. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to us if you want to suggest video topics or if you just want to ask questions. Again, also visit Audio Advice at audioadvice.com. Please mention Audioholics when you go there if you can. Scott, Nick, it was awesome having you guys. I can't wait to have you again.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thanks, Gene. Thanks, Nick. We'll see you guys.
All right. Until next time, my friends.